Hello, everybody. It's Imajuddin Aisha, Cairo, Egypt again. And guess what? I went and watched the Odyssey again. Went yesterday to the cinema, bigger screen, and paid more money, and it was worth it. I liked the movie even more than the first time, and I found myself, I cried even more than the first time, and I found myself getting just as psyched up in key scenes as I did before, even though I knew it was going to happen before. And the sound was a bit clear, to be fair, as well, the movie theater. Now, uh, impressions. The standout performances this time around, but that's not negating anything I said before, are John Leguizamo as the manservant of Odysseus and Robert Pattinson as the suitor for Anne Hathaway, Penelope. Now, Robert Pattinson, the scene where he is confronting Penelope and exposes the fact that she's cheating, that she's unmaking the funeral shroud that she's supposed to be making for her husband. That scene is is very well set up. The reason is you have the burial shroud, so it obscures his features a bit, and as well there's lighting coming from the background from the window, and it obscures his face even more. And it makes him, indefinite. You can't tell whether he's for real or whether he's lying. You can see it, and his acting is so good in that scene that for a second time, even though you watched the movie before, you actually believe that he's being sincere. He's that good. His performance is that good. And that reminded me of Carrie-Anne Moss in Memento, the very first Christopher Nolan movie I ever watched. And the scene where she's been beaten up and she manipulates Guy Pearce, uses his memory problem against him, and then she goes out and she comes back in, and of course he's forgotten. And she is so good, she's so sympathetic on her face that you for a split second you forget what just happened before. Now Carrie Ann Moss is a great actress, an underrated actress, and an Oscar-winning actress in my opinion. But I think I'm going to have to give this to Christopher Nolan because he did that with Robert Pattinson. In this movie, except for a second time, you got tricked into thinking he was a nice guy. Because then you get the shock when you see him going to Mia Golf and having fun with it. And this is the second time you watch the movie. It's that persuasive. The performances were that good. And again, that's Christopher Nolan's handiwork, handicraft. John Leguizamo, he gives an ethnic performance, so using his accent, not just American accent, but his particular Puerto Rican accent, slightly. And with all of that, it works. His performance is that good. And I found myself crying a time that I hadn't cried before, the first time in the movie, when Odysseus goes disguised as a beggar, and the pigs have all been slaughtered, and his dogs, he had to kill them, and one of his farm hands has also been killed. And he tells him Odysseus is still alive. I have good news. And the guy just breaks up, no more, no more. I can't take it. No more hope, no more false hope. You just couldn't help but get overwhelmed. And the actor, he talks about this is his best performance. He's a method, how he got into character. Watching the movie a second time, you realize there's a thing that actually gets you into the mood for those scenes, and it breaks down your defenses, your intellectual defense. The foreknowledge of what's going to happen doesn't have any effect. Why? Because there's a sound. It's not just the performances, it's not just the camera work, it is all of those things. It's not just the casting, it is all of it. It's also the sounds. It's the sort of background sounds that creep up on you, and they melt away your reserve, and they melt away the intellectual barriers you built in your head. You see that with Calypso trying to get not Dana to remember, Theseus to remember. You see that in the scenes with Penelope and Dana and Penelope and Tom Holland. I feel Robert Pattinson is more just his acting and his charming voice. Creepy dude. He's like what's his name? He's like Jude Law in The Road to Perdition. Decidedly charming guy. And I've never watched Twilight yet. I'm not a fan of it. First time I ever saw him was actually in Tenet with Christopher Nolan. The lighting also, you were more impressed by it this time. I was already impressed, particularly because the reflection of the eyes. You see it with Anne Hathaway. She has these really big, beautiful brown eyes. And reflecting off her pupils and her irises. And it's also true with Tom Holland. It's not really his nice eyes. But again, using the natural lighting, whether it's the window or the fire or whatever. The theology, I've watched a few YouTube videos, very good ones, and my suspicions concerning the Christianization of this epic turned out to be true and much more extensive than I thought. The scene where Odysseus goes into the water when he's going back home, um, riding a raft made from bits and pieces of his old ship. And I suspect that the horse as well was built from planks from the ship. The body of the horse, the belly, it looks, it's made of planks, and I suppose that's from the battleship. How ironic. It's a dunking scene. It's a baptism scene. It's a christening scene. So he's a Christ-like figure. He's a redeemed figure, dies and is resurrected. And people know the error of their ways, their sins. In this case, for him, his own sin. Also, you notice Zendaya, and I liked her even more than the first time. I already liked her before. You notice that they darkened her hair. I think that's her natural hair color, not her sort of celebrity pop star hair color. And it brings out, it changes her complexion, makes it a bit lighter, and it brings out the darkness of her eyes. Her eyes aren't brown, they're pitch black. And again, the light reflects more out of them, and it makes her look like she's crying even when she isn't. And she's really proven herself as an actress here. I think she's going to skyrocket after that. She's not just a pretty face or attractive girl and somebody for action movies. She's going to have a good career. And she's acting through her facial features and through her eyes. And I said that sparkling, dark tip, her eyes, they make her look like she's crying even when she is. A bit more on theology. Um, I just realized that all of the mythical things that we see, the creatures and the gods, we only see them through Odysseus, mostly through his recollection. And a couple of times we see Athena afterwards. And for all we know, he could be hallucinating. None of this could have been happening. And I'll tell you a little tidbit of evidence that may prove that he actually is just hallucinating. When he's remembering the conquest of Troy, back at Troy, he shoots an arrow at a Trojan's face and gets in through the aperture in his mouth. And wouldn't you know it, when the Iron Giant, and I've noticed this the first time, actually, realized the significance, the giant's covered in iron, he also shoots one of them in the face through the aperture, so it's cracked in there. And for all we know, he's reliving what he did in Troy, so to speak, and just sort of projecting it onto this thing where these iron giants were really a foretelling of the sea peoples who were actually Greek or European, whatever, including Greek. And an Iron Age who destroyed the Bronze Age with its more formidable weapons. And the ruthlessness that they created, their generation, by breaking Zeus's law. So this is really, this is it's heady psychological stuff, and people have commented about um, um, infection. And the scene at the end, is that for real, is that empty? I would say it's for real because you can hear that totem thing wobbling. So it's beginning to lose its balance and fall. So it's definitely real. But the point is, he's not looking at it. He doesn't care anymore. He's finally got what he wants. Even if this is a dream, he would stick with it. So with Odysseus, all of those things that he remembers may be hallucinations from guilt and also from the drugs. And guilt for losing his crew, and guilt for massacring the people of Troy, and the bad decisions he made, which lost him a lot of his men, and guilt also over the kind of forces that he and his generation unleashed, which is going to destroy Greece and much of the Mediterranean. But even so, it's telling us things we need to know, moral lessons for him, his redemption arc, which is our redemption arc. We're on the journey with him. You really feel like you're with him and Anne Hathaway at the end on the boat, going to the unknown west. And this is interesting. The ancient Egyptians said that Osiris is the first of the Western. This is the kingdom of the dead, the land of the setting sun. It seems the Greeks thought the same way. One more point here about Helen and how everybody's been tracking her instead of looking at her performance. She's an attractive woman. You'll notice that when Tom Holland meets Melanias, they're having a feast because of his daughter's wedding, Helen's daughter. everything is covered in gold and like gold. And gold, of course, is opulent and decadent. And he also afterwards went online when he's hunting, he's dressed in purple, royal purple, of course. So it shows you this kind of the high point of the civilization and the decadence of how things fall. People fighting over not table scraps, over the spoils of war, so to speak, over wealth that they got from toys, they should, which is what happened to Rome after the Spartak Act. That began the process of destroying the republic. But you'll notice that there's some Islamic architecture in there. There's something that looks like a minbar with the not minbar, sorry, the place where the sheikh climbs up and gives the sermon. It has the Islamic geometrical pattern, and it's covered in gold. And Helen is dressed like an Egyptian princess, queen. The gold in her braided hair, the outfit also is very ancient Egyptian look to it. So again, she's been looked at as a spoil of war, as a captive, as a possession, either from trade with other civilizations or from stealing from the civilization. And you have that hilarious scene where the Greeks are stealing from a coastal town and they're telling them, why did you run away? And they're burning their houses down, so why are you scared of? And so we thought to the people, no, these people were Greek. And the guy who's saying that, the actor, is Indian. I'm forgetting his name. He's the guy who was in Tenet. Really cool actor. And he was also in Station 11. Sorry, I forgot his name. But anyway, you get what I mean. So I like the ending more this time around. It's a very cramped ending with lots of stuff happening in it, in typical Christopher Nolan fashion, like The Dark Knight. But nonetheless, you like it more, and again, you notice the sound effects side of it, which puts you into this epic feel, this sense of elation and hope for the future, even though there's a dark age. You hear once again the bard saying a plan, a name, fleet, and then you hear him singing the guy's a Travis Scott, yeah, and he's rapping it, so he's doing the song at the end, and the music, listening to it a second time, and the sound effects, is brilliant. They're using classical instruments in a very modern way, with the exception of a few scenes. I mean, like the scene with the sirens, that's very traditional classical introduced music, I assume. But the rest of the time, you have these old instruments played with some new instruments, like some synth music in the background. It's just great. It gives you this hyper real sense of reality that carries you forward with it. The movie is pure brilliance, and I just don't get all of this trashing of the film concerning pandering and multiracial. It's not true. The actors in it, no matter how minor their parts are, they do a good job. So they're not being put there just for pandering. Watch the Suicide Squad sequel, and it's the affirmative action type movie, endless minorities, but they're all playing the bad guy, and they all get killed horribly by the good guys who are predominantly white. So it's just there to pander, not serious. I'm not calling the movie racist. I mean, the hero technically is Idris Elba, not that. But that's not the point. It's, it's useless. You're making the bad guys people who are Nazis, leftovers from the Second World War, who do experiments on children that they're starving. You're making them into equal opportunity, and then killing them all off anyway because they're minor and insignificant characters that don't stick in your mind. So that's pandering. This is not pandering. You have deep, substantive acting, good cast, even actors who aren't well known, aren't professional actors, like Zendaya, who does an excellent job. So that's the first thing. The second thing is Mr. Odysseus himself. He is the quintessential hero, the quintessential leader. He's the guy who feels guilty because he's the one who's responsible. He tells people what to do. If they do something wrong or they get into danger, it's because of him. He's a responsible, determined, wise person, and he outwits his opponent. He doesn't beat them for physical force, for brute force. Look at the scene with the witch, Cersei, and not the Morton. Brilliant. Because I like to do more of the second. That scene with the pig, you can never get enough. Freaks you out. And again, he outsmarts her. He doesn't have any weapons. He's a dagger. He hands that over. But he figures out that there's something wrong, and he notices the ring. So she's lying to him. Something happened to his men, and he finds her weakness. That crows his sister, doesn't snap its neck, and gets her to confess to what happened. But at the same time, he's merciful, and he realizes she's just defending herself. She wasn't being evil as such. That completely disqualifies us from charges of wokeness. Male heroes are constantly trapped in modern cinema. They're even I think what's his name? Even the guy, the Indian actor who shows up in see if I can get the picture and find it. He shows up in Station 11. He's transformed into I don't think sniveling little bitch. It's something like that. And this is the guy who was in Tenet, the cool guy who found a way to get into the vault and crash a plane and what you do. Can't help but like see like I still think Tom Holland fits it, but he comes out good again to defeat what he learned from Mentor. And not actually from John Lee. Himash Patel. Actually. I always get him confused with Peter Park. The, the mayor of New York, the new guy, as well. I mean, he's in Station 11, and they transform him into somebody with mood swings and panic attacks. And there's a lot of character assassination of men and other things going on there. That's woke. You don't get that here. Odysseus, he has his flaws, he has his downside, he makes terrible mistakes, but he learns from them, and he puts that behind him. And in all cases, he's a man's man. He's tough physically, he's smart, he gets himself out of situations through his wit, and he earns the sympathy of Calypso. She wants him for herself, and she helped her. He helped him put his past behind him. But with all of that, he's such a nice guy, such a good guy, and so sincere in his emotions towards her. She can't keep him trapped like that. She has to send him back to his original wife and sacrifice her own happiness. That's not some sort of anti-masculinist manifesto. It's quite the opposite. You have a humble hero, but nonetheless a hero, a true leader, somebody who feels responsible for what his men do and their fate. So it's just a great movie. And again, Sinon, heartbreaking performance by Elliot Page. He got the right person. He got the kid brother, and had to make that person look soft, a child soldier, somebody who shouldn't be a frontline fighter, compared to Robert Pattinson, Canary's brother, who runs away from the pig at the beginning when Odysseus is hunted. Should have noticed that. So, I mean, it's brilliant. It's using the language of modern cinema. It's a multi-racial, which is fine. It's the language that people understand, so they can relate to. But nonetheless, it thoroughly gratifies it and Europeanizes it. Western. It's a proper Greek tragedy. It has a feeling of Norse myth to it. It feels like you're watching Grendel. It feels like you're watching Vikings. There is a celebration of the unknown West. It's a land of darkness, but it's a land of hope as well. As long as they can be given the wisdom of the people before them to see the mistakes they made. It's only Mediterranean. There's nothing to complain about. And it's 3 hours long, and you don't feel your time. Okay, maybe you didn't feel your time as much in Project Hail Mary, but it has a lot in common. the hero there can't remember to rediscover who he is and find his manliness and bravery, willing to sacrifice, with the help, of course, of Rocky. And you find the same thing here. And I wouldn't be too surprised if these things start to come a lot of the techniques when they come from the Odyssey. Apocalypse Now, the guy who wrote the script, John Million, he modeled it on the Odyssey, down to the bunny girls, the sirens. And you even have a scene where Martin Sheen is playing with Robert Duvall. The more when they bring out the stakes, they make it feel like home, make you want to go back. Trouble is, I've been there; it doesn't exist anymore. That's what Odysseus says to Penelope at the end. So it probably comes straight out of the Odyssey. That's how epic. And Christopher Nolan, he's been dreaming of making this movie since Troy, because he was one of the people hired as a replacement for Wolfgang Peterson when they took it away from him, to get him back. And he had got the idea of having the horse there on the beach to look like a leftover of the beach running away. So he's been dreaming about this, and he's been meticulously planning it. To say what you want about him, everything that happens in the movie has a purpose. It all fits into a fully rounded message, a fully rounded storyline, from beginning to end. Even the level of like the pig attacking them, and the Robert Pattinson boy running away, and him getting wounded, and him uh, swinging the bow so the animal can hear the hunter coming to have a fair fight. Again, like Beowulf and Grendel. It's just great. I don't understand why people are attacking it. And thank heaven the numbers on the side of the movie and the most of the review opinions and deep analysis is coming out on YouTube, and I'm doing my little part as well. I'll try to get you the links of the this is me, email over wait for me. Goodbye. And I hope the subscription.